and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. So today we are talking about the narcissist's mother, who someone is going through their share of dramas and traumas as a result of the ex-mother-in-law, or could have been the mother-in-law. And so the relationship runs its course. For some people, they've already broken up. So we're not trying to get anybody out the situation because they've already broken up. Others, though, they're still dealing with not just the narcissist, but the in-laws too. So for some of you all, you got hooked up with someone and you found out that this person fits all the character traits of the narcissist. We're not going to get into all of those specifics because there's plenty of audio on this channel and elsewhere that gets into what is a narcissist and the traits and all of these other things. But we've got an elephant in the room. And this elephant, if you will, is the narcissistic mother-in-law. You see, the narcissist didn't just become that way. He had to learn. Okay? Or she had to learn. And so what happens is when you're around someone who's corrupting your good manners, and we constantly warn of this sort of thing on this channel, then eventually you become like that person. That's why when it's in your power, you no longer are around the person who has pretty much done his or her share of things that broke you down mentally, caused you to break up with people, caused you to have all sorts of falling outs, couldn't keep a job. The narcissistic mother, she's used her son or daughter to feed her. So the child or adult son or daughter is nothing more than supply. And this supply you happen to get involved with. And now she's trying to get you to do what she wants as well. Because see, I already got my son. I just need to get to you too. And some of you all, you didn't know what you were messing with when you got involved with that son, that daughter. Because you basically got involved with the narcissist behind that person as well. It wasn't enough to get involved with that one. You're also involved with the mother as well. So what are we going to do about it? Well, first and foremost is the Lord showed me time and time again that we've got to cut away and cut off. I've told people this over and over again, and I'm going to keep telling people this over and over again. If you're not willing to cut away and cut off and you want to stay on the phone with people, show up at the family holiday events when they tell you to come, show up when there is all sorts of dramas and traumas and they're looking for you to bail them out, because once again, the narcissist and his mama or brother or cousin or whoever else is in deep. That's what you can do. You can keep on ripping and running. But I'm not that channel that supports that sort of thing. So you'll have to find another channel. I'm trying to get people free. That's what the calling has been for over 14 plus years now. Okay. And so I'm sticking to what I know, what I've experienced, what I've even read in the scriptures, the way God deals with people. And he doesn't want us to be in support of, doesn't want us running after, doesn't want us to be a part of the manipulations of the narcissistic in-law, ex-law, whoever this person is to you. When the listener reached out, the listener specifically mentioned narcissistic mother-in-law. And that is why you're going to hear me keep coming back to that, because that was the request. Okay, in terms of what to do, you see, this one is coming up with all sorts of things to keep me in bondage, right? There's the witchcraft that narcissistic mothers will participate in, spiritual mothers, people who got a specific denomination, whether they say that they're in witchcraft or not. After a while, you'll know, you'll feel it. Some of you all have already experienced that sort of thing. There seems to be a dark cloud over that son, over that daughter that you got connected with. And sometimes when the grandchildren are around, it seems like they got a dark cloud over them. You don't get hurt till you go over her house. You don't have stomach cramps until you go over her house. You don't start acting up really bad until you come from her house. And then some of the parents have had to dig a little bit to find out what exactly did the child see, hear, experience while being in the presence of the in-laws. Okay? There have been those who the witchcraft was so intense, they knew it was witchcraft because some folks used to practice. So, yes, game knows game. And so off to the church they go, or around prayer warriors. We got to pray this thing away. This isn't something that you can battle all by yourself. It has to be the prayer warriors involved. Some folks have done pretty well with their own share of witchy things they have come up with. However, the devil always wants a sacrifice of some sort when you mess around in his dark arts. Okay? And some of you all aren't prepared for that sort of thing. God knows the devil, right? He knows system, process. He knows what occult types of knowledge can bring about, open up various portals and so forth. And this is why he doesn't want you involved with this sort of thing. But then when you do get yourself involved, now it's work to get these things off of you and around you. And that narcissistic mother who's self-absorbed, conceited, didn't really want you to be involved in the family, is just going along to get along, puts her witchy programming into the picture, because witchcraft is nothing more than manipulation. And so now he's in doubt about whether he wants to stay with you, or you're having unnecessary arguments with this person. And who is he talking to? And you think it's the other woman, and meanwhile it is his own mother or his sister or some other woman in the family, an aunt, a niece, a cousin. Or it could be in a same-sex relationship type of situation. But either way, though, there is someone that's hurting because of the manipulations. There is someone that is held captive by things seen and unseen. And so the deliverance ministry, if you will, the prayer warriors, the intercessors have to intervene. You prayed and still no results. We got to take it next level, listener. When you have someone that you know has done something to you, whether it's witchcraft or something else, it could be lying to you, stealing from you, making up all sorts of excuses as to not to help you or help your children or what have you. As wise people in my own family told me, you don't keep these people close to you. They've already showed you who they are, and you are to believe it. You don't say things like, it'll get better, when you know it hasn't been better in 10, 15, 20 plus years. Who are you fooling at that point? Many abused types of individuals will say things like that because they just want to psych their mind into staying when they know they should have left a long time ago. Well, I'm just keeping the faith. I'm hoping, I'm praying. I talked with this one and that one. We set up an appointment. We should be having some family counseling soon. I'm just going to, how much more do you have to go through to finally get to a place where you say, I don't care any longer about what is happening in this situation. I just want out. This is why for some individuals, they have to go through storms. We don't want them to go through storms, but they have to because they're hard-headed, because they don't want to listen, because when people give them evidence and proof as well as an exit plan, they don't want to follow through. There are many psychologists and psychiatrists, teachers, educators, doctors, you name it, who are so frustrated with people when they give them the solutions, when they direct them to the resources, when they tell them what the plans are, and then the folks don't listen and don't want to do, and now he or she is back in bondage again. In-laws, just like parents, just like those that you grew up with, can put you in bondage. And then you're trying to free yourself out of it through the same old tactics that you've used with this one and that one. Let me tell you, one size doesn't fit all. It may have worked with your ex back in the day and his mama, but this new process, new system, this new person in your life, we need to pull out the big guns, so to speak. Because this one right here could be having a web, if you will. And I talked about the spider mother years ago, how she can create all sorts of webs. This one created a web a long time ago when you thought she was harmless. She already got you hooked up, got you locked in when she was being so nice and kind and, went against your partner behind his or her back, talking about, don't worry about him. Girl, I already know he ain't going to let you have this, or he's not going to want this, that, and the other for you, but I'm going to help you. See, why was she doing all that nice stuff early on? Because she was winning you over. She was doing all that nice stuff because she was grooming you like an abuser grooms a child. She's got to win you over with all the niceties. Come on over. Oh, is he bringing you? Oh, good. Oh, I like you so much. I think you're a sweetheart. You're a dear. You see, because she knows that it's better to attract a bee with honey. And so she's been very sweet for a while until she stopped being sweet, because whatever he said, and we've got to place some blame on someone in this situation. Sometimes the partner's going back and saying some things which just add salt in the wound. There was already a wound when he got involved with you. And so now he goes and he says something during a weak moment about you. And she's already like, I really don't like her, but I'm just trying to be nice. And that's the mother of my grandchild. And you really know how to pick them. Now you over here telling me about her. I knew she wasn't right for you. It's hard for me to be fake, and she gonna come over here. Lord Jesus. You see? And for some, they're going to sit there and they're just going to either stare, or they're going to say, don't bring her back over here again. Or they're just going to simply have all sorts of falling outs with you because they don't like you. I mean, I can't believe she just went off on me one day. I was like, look, I'm not your child. You said that. Yeah, because I wasn't going to put up with her talking all kind of ways to me. Okay. That's your partner's mother. And if you married into the family, that's your mother-in-law. So the dishonoring can't take place with the biological mother, and neither does it take place with the mother-in-law. Well, I'm not just going to sit there and let somebody cuss me out or be disrespectful. Exactly. So that's why you don't go over there. Because, see, the fact of the matter is, going back to what I said earlier, is she don't like you. She don't want you around. You see, a narcissistic mother is self-absorbed. She's self-centered. It's about her. She's front and center. When you came along, when that baby was born, when the other baby, some of you all, 3, 4, 5 kids later, she's not the queen anymore. And then depending on, let's say the partner says something positive instead of negative. She didn't like all of that. Every time I turn around, he always talking about, one of those siblings knows something a little more than the other ones. Yeah, always coming over here talking about his woman. Get on my nerves sitting up here. His woman is his woman that, how much of a good woman. All the stuff I done for his little sorry behind over the years and what I had to put up with. He just like his daddy. Don't want to give nobody nothing. Holidays come along. But every time I turn around, he talking about what he bought his woman. You see? So sometimes it's not a negative thing. Sometimes the partner's going back saying something positive. She's jealous. She's narcissistic. Maybe for years he didn't have anyone and he esteemed his mother, put her up on a pedestal, and now you showed up and you messed it all up. Lord Jesus, you messed it all up. You see, she had a plan for that man. And then you came along and you changed his world. You see? So what are we going to do? Like I said, we've got to not be around some folk. You got to figure out how you're going to handle the holidays going forward. You're going to have to figure out where you're going to spend your money and where you're going to save your money. You're going to have to figure out, do I want her to be updated on my new phone number? You see? Well, but the baby, you can get the baby his or her own cell phone. They can talk to their grandmother direct. You can put that phone on a speakerphone or something for them when they're small. So this way you can hear what's being said. When they're older, well, you're just going to have to give your child a lot of education on the family and to remind them to mind what they say. Now, if your child has some type of disability or what have you, well, it's going to be hard to pay attention to everything you tell them to say and not say. So in that case, you might have to be the middleman, middle woman, you see, because narcissistic people cannot be trusted. They cannot be trusted. I remember coming across my share of individuals in the past when it came to extended relatives, and these individuals were about whatever they could find information on, and appreciated that they still had connections to certain people because certain people was still feeding them. Okay. For some of you all, it could be the sister, it could be the brother, it could be the mutual friend. It could be someone who's feeding information that you don't want to get out. And if that's the case, now you've got to pull back on some of the conversations that you have with the mutuals. Okay. Can I tell you that things that were said years ago have a way of circulating throughout the family and coming right back around years later? So just because somebody hasn't said anything about what your, let's say, experience was with the narcissistic mother doesn't mean that they don't know. Okay. If you got to deal with someone, you treat people how you want to be treated, right? So if I'm dealing with a narcissistic mother, I am being guarded, yes, about what I'm saying. I'm also making sure that I'm not in spaces where she feels threatened or there's some type of competition, if you will. I am encouraging, of course, my partner to reach out to his mother, to be respectful, kind, all that good stuff, especially when they have a falling out. And I'm also being polite and pleasant when in the presence of. However, if I am no longer with that person, then quiet, silence, and moving on with my life is always the best. They can always have access to the grandchild when the grandchild is with the other parent, if it's a situation of separation or divorce. So this whole business of you're keeping me from my child and all that, no, you get to see your grandchild with your son when he sees. But please don't, make this more complicated than it is. Okay. I'm trying to be as polite and kind and respectful, of everyone. But what I don't need is pressure put upon me on what I should do and what I shouldn't do and what I should say and what I shouldn't say and all this other stuff. Because sometimes there are the narcissistic controlling in-laws who feel like they are owed something because remember that time when, when we did this and when we did that. Well, I'm no longer with your son. I'm no longer involved, with the family like that. And see, here's the thing. If you can be able to have that dialogue, that conversation recorded, have witnesses around, so that way there's no he say, she say, letting them know that this separation means, and then fill in a blank, or this divorce means, and fill in a blank. And that blank is everything that you need to talk about with regard to seeing people, connecting with people, or disconnecting from people, or not seeing people any longer, you see. And if people want to get violent and stalk and harass and all that, that's what the police is for. And then you can easily go down there and have a restraining order, and you can talk with domestic violence counselors on exit plans so that you and your child are not harmed, you see. So there are things that can end up being blown out of proportion. Someone having their point of view, not liking what you're saying, totally against the separation, divorce, throwing up in your face about when am I going to see my child, and playing guilt trips on you and all of that. You see, that's the spoils of war, unfortunately, is that if I'm no longer with someone, that means that I'm also taking that child wherever I need to take that child to keep that child from experiencing all the toxic stuff that the family may have contributed to the demise of the relationship, you see. When we are praying, we're asking the Lord for guidance. We're trusting the Lord with understanding, putting ourselves in that person's shoes. So if I do have a decent relationship with the person, despite them being a narcissist, then I'm going to limit my time, of course, being around them. And I'm also going to limit my child's time as well. I'm asking the Lord for his angels to protect me as I'm driving, as I'm walking, as I'm a passenger in a vehicle, you see, protecting the family. I'm resting on Psalm 91. I'm also recognizing the scriptures of love and peace and honor and all of those good things, but I'm also no fool, you see. And God tells us about false prophets, right? He warns us about wolves in sheep's clothing. He talks about walking this earth without a shepherd and things of that sort. This is why it is so important to lean on him in terms of next steps. When you should be in the presence of family, when you shouldn't be in the presence of family, whether you should be picking up the phone calling, whether you should be emailing, texting. Always keep in mind that somebody can read a text. You see, I can't tell you how many times people have done a screenshot or even in my presence said, look what this person wrote. You see, you're thinking that your texts are just between you and that person. Depending on what you write and how well you write it, somebody is sharing a text, sharing a letter, you see, sharing a recording if you leave a message. So this is why we've got to cross our T's and dot our I's when we're dealing with manipulative mothers, controlling mothers, self-absorbed, conceited, think they're better than everybody else. Okay? The devil is in the detail. The devil is moving. But one thing about it, the devil can't do anything to you that you don't let occur. Now, if you let something occur, then he's got access. Also, God, he knows the devil. And that's why he warns you. And sometimes it may be an inconvenience for you to have to drive somewhere else, or it may be an inconvenience for you to have to pay money to fly somewhere, or it may be a problem for you to do something, right? But if God is moving you to do something, then you do it. If God is telling you to stand down, then you do it. But as long as I know that I got God in the plan, there's no reason for me to be getting all bent out of shape about what that narcissistic mother said, because I know who I am in Christ. I know the truth about who I am. I know the truth about my child. I know the truth about that toxic relationship, you see. But too many people get hung up on what people say, and they get hung up on what they're doing and who they're doing it with. And they're so distracted by all of these other things that now your relationship with the Lord is not where it should be, because you're too busy here, there, and everywhere else. And so I end this message with simply taking the time out, listing what you want God to do with regard to the connection or lack thereof, with regard to in-laws in general, right? You also want to pray. You're also looking up information on how to communicate with someone who is controlling, who's difficult. How other people have had to deal with their in-laws after separation, divorce. There's plenty of good information out there about that sort of thing. I read books about blended families because once I moved on with my life, I knew that there were still the past, if you will, still hanging out there. And so I said, I need to make sure that as I'm moving into my blended family, that I am not dealing with this past, business. And so one of the best things that helped me was remaining cordial, looking for the benefits to sell, if you will, to the former partner with regard to children. This is a benefit to you. You see, you'll get a break, I'll get a break, or this is a benefit to you. You see, you'll be able to bring the baby over to, your mother, and you guys can spend quality time. You see, it was never, this is what I want. You see, that's not going to win anybody to, doing anything, that you want, or when, helping you out, it's just not. Also, if you're trying to win souls for Christ, I know a little bit off topic, but if you're trying to win souls for Christ, you got to be an example. And so if that mother's already saying wicked things about you because of past run-ins, now is the time to shock her system by being the ambassador for Christ that he has called you to be. And then she will be so stunned by that transformation that she can't help but possibly get her act together, because we're all grown, right? So we're not resorting to petty behaviors. You see, life is too short. So a lot of things can be done in that short amount of time of being involved with that in-law, because sooner or later the children get older. I got 2 who are grown, and I don't have to deal with anybody on that side of the family unless I want to, and that's always a great place to be. I thank you as always for taking time out to listen. You've been listening to YouTube NM Enterprise 7. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment. We do welcome giving on this channel, and thank you in advance. Blessings to you.